What's up, everybody? So my goal tonight is to simplify the conversation around ketones to the point that I have never simplified it before. So hopefully this is short and sweet as well. I'm not so great at that. So every once in a while, someone will come to me and ask the question, so what do you actually do? Not your regular job. I do software for my regular job, but related to ketones, like what do you actually do? And to simplify that as much as possible, I'm looking for people who are looking for me. And when I find them, I help them. And so when I say looking for me, for most of my childhood and adult life, I've been some form of an athlete, more recreational as an adult, or a fitness enthusiast of some sort. I've run half marathons. I've done all sorts of fitness stuff, with the exception of the last few years where I've basically been in survival mode with babies. And, over the years, and especially during the time where I've not been in such a great shape, I've tried many, many things. I've tried workout programs. I've hired personal trainers. I've drank those meal replacement shakes, bars, those sorts of things. I've tried all sorts of supplements, protein powders, pre-workout, all of that stuff. And I've just not found anything as a tool that's as universal as drinking ketones. And so I wanted to do a short video to help explain to you guys like what I do and how I help those people wanting help, and like what does that actually even mean. So I've made a couple of notes just to like keep myself on track because I'm wordy. The last time I tried to do this, my video went on for like 45 minutes. My goal here is like under 10. So when I say people who are looking for help, that could mean a ton of different things. But I think it means people who've tried and failed at diets, people who want to look better, feel better, perform better, or just people who want to be healthier. That's what I mean by that, people who are looking for help. And there are all sorts of degrees of what that means to different people. So there's all sorts of noise and disagreement out there in the marketplace. Is it high fat? Is it low carb? Do hormones come into play? Is it low sugar? Do calories actually matter? Like all this argument out there about diet and exercise and what matters and what doesn't. So what I do is try to do my best to correct misinformation based on research that I've done and application in my actual life and all of my customers, and then simplify way, way down. Super simple. And then I redirect people to a solution or tool, which is ketones, that I know for a fact works. So that's what I do. So yeah, one of the ways that I do this is called Keto Max for Prove It. And it's just a white powder, you guys. Like this one might be pink, but I'll show you what it looks like. It's a white powder. And, I heard somebody the other day call it WILLPOWER. And that's like the best way that I've heard anybody ever put it. So, it's a powder. This one is pink. It's raspberry lemonade. I'm not going to drink this whole thing right now, but I'm just showing you guys like what it even is. So we all have a will, but many of us don't have the will to make good decisions. And that's what's tripping us up. Like we all know how to do better when it comes to a healthier lifestyle. We all know the steps we need to take, but we don't have the willpower to do it. But what if I could introduce you to a supplement that helps you make better choices, that perhaps helps you control cravings and appetite? Appetite being like the emotional side of eating, not actual hunger. And that's, where a lot of us go wrong too. So think of it as like, I call it an energy deficit, or like the balance of the energy equation. It's pretty simple. So if you bring in more calories or energy than your body needs, like burning it or exercise or whatever it is, if you bring in more than your body needs, your body's going to store that as fat, period, hands down. So this creates compliance in that energy balance equation. Ketones actually help do that, at least with me, with my clients, my customers, all those people. that's what it helps do. It's not a magic pill. It helps with these things. So I've basically helped people. One of my computers like stuck. Got like bulleted notes so I don't go off on like crazy track. But so I help people take one of these packets, drink it once a day, maybe twice a day. And the first thing I try to get them to do is just start paying attention. Just start paying attention to your cues from your body and try to figure out the best way to go about creating more healthy eating habits. So the problem that I've encountered, and that probably most of you have encountered with diets, is that sound nutrition isn't actually sound unless it's sustainable. So think about that. Even things like the Whole30 diet or 21-day fix, all of these things that are really, really short term, they're really healthy nutrition plans, but they're not sound because you can't sustain them for a long period of time. And when you can't sustain them for a long period of time, you go back to your old habits unless you have better ones, unless you have ones that are not too restrictive, that are something that you can do most of the time, day in and day out. So, people try and go and make these big, overarching, big changes and they fail. I've done it, I don't know how many times, honestly. I have no idea how many times I've failed at diets. But, so step one when I'm helping people is literally just start drinking ketones once or twice a day. And then step two, when you add to that, would be to start paying attention to the cues from your body, figuring out what's the difference between appetite, meaning the emotional state behind wanting or needing to eat, versus real actual hunger. So like, is your stomach growling? Do you have hunger pangs? That is the need to eat. And there's a really big difference. And most of it have a blurry line in that area. I still do sometimes, honestly, but that's a big, big factor in why people can't figure out how to live a healthy lifestyle, is not knowing the difference there. And they've got all these attachments to food. So if I can just get somebody to drink ketones once or twice a day and start figuring out the difference between appetite and actual hunger, if I can get people to start drinking ketones when they need maybe like a big 3-4 hour period of not being cranky, not being hungry, not being tired, having plenty of energy, then from the very first sample that they've had, that's already forward progress, better than whatever they're doing right now. So think about that. If I can get them to start focusing on eating when they're hungry and not just because it's lunchtime or not because the clock tells you that it's 6:30 p.m. and that's when you have to eat, but start focusing on eating when you're hungry and not eating when you're not hungry, huge progress. So that's step 1 and 2, super easy. That helps a ton of people. And then we ease into it, take it a step further and start saying, okay, let's start taking a look at the foods that you're actually eating. And let's take another step in this whole mess and try to remove the processed and the overly preserved foods. So basically like all the crap in the middle of the grocery stores. And just think about it, like look at the labels, and if it's something that has the ability to sit on the shelf of the grocery store for a really long time or to sit on your pantry shelf for a really long time, it's probably heavily processed carbohydrate, and it's probably chock full of all sorts of preservatives and processed ingredients. And this is one of the phrases, like I've got it written down somewhere on my desk, but it's one of my favorite things. I should probably make a little picture and post it on Instagram. But food does not have ingredients. Food is an ingredient. Let that cycle through your brain for a minute. Food does not have ingredients. Food is an ingredient. And think about all the things that you eat that if you were to look at a label has a list this long of all the crap that's in it. It's not good. It's man-made, it's created. It's not good for you. Just think about that and start looking at the package and pay attention. So if we can do that, that's another step forward. It's another forward progress step. And then from there, you can take another step and start really cleaning up your diet a little bit. And now this one's going to sound a little bit different coming from me, because I talk so much about how much I believe in the keto diet, and I do, and I still follow it, not to a T, but I really focus on low carb, high fat. I don't track it anymore. But when you're going into a lifestyle transition, like when you're really trying to shift your lifestyle into a better place, sometimes going all in doesn't work for some people. Some people it does, but for others, when they have a harder time with a shock change like that, I start thinking, okay, keto is a good way to eat. I love that way to eat. What it really means is a high fat diet with low carbohydrate focus, moderate protein. But maybe let's not even go that far. Let's just focus on the low carb part. Let's just create a healthier eating cycle. Maybe even pull in some leaner proteins and just focus on dropping those carbs down. A lot of people, even with keto, get frustrated and fail at the beginning because they're focused on all these macros and numbers, and I can't get enough fat in my diet, and I feel like I'm eating weird things to get all these ratios right. And it's just because they're not used to what ingredients are in what food. It's just a hard thing to do. So if we can just make these really small modifications and ease into it, then you've made a huge amount of progress in a really, really short period of time. And so that's what I coach people through in the beginning of their, lifestyle shifts. Start drinking ketones, start thinking about some of these tiny changes you can make. So what do ketones even do? So drinking ketones help you make better choices. If you're drinking them on a regular basis, we're going to go back to that whole energy balance equation. And it's going to help you control the quality and the quantity of food that you're putting into your mug. Does that make sense? It actually is going to help you control that. And that's why I love them. That's why so many people love them. So on the other side of that, I would even go so far as to say it's actually going to help you with the expenditure of the calories on the backside. So the calories that you're burning or outputting, which is a good thing too, which is shifting that equation to a better ratio. Calories in, calories out. So why does it do this? It's because ketones are protein sparing, and that means that they preserve muscle. And, when I think back and look at my history with them, all of my customers and clients that work with me now related to ketones and health and wellness, I can't think of anyone who doesn't just want to do more. So instead of, sitting on the couch all night, maybe they want to go for a walk or a run or go to the gym. They no longer leave walking the dog up to their spouse or their kids. Maybe they're actually on the floor playing with their kids instead of sitting on the sidelines. You want to actually do more, which also contributes to that energy expenditure. So, that's the simplest, super simplest explanation I can provide. And I wanted to just provide some clarity around that. And if you do have more science-based questions, ask them, send me a message and we can chat about that too. But most people don't care as much about that. They just want to know, okay, what is it actually even doing? And so I wanted to help clarify some of that stuff. So it's a product, it's a technology, and it's a premium technology. And what I don't want people to do is balk at the price in the beginning, because it's really funny, because everyone wants a magic pill, which doesn't exist, by the way. Everyone wants something that's going to help them have all the things that they want and want to feel the way that they feel, but they think that it should be for free, and business doesn't work that way. But at the same time, don't balk at the price of this either. So here's why. So we have a really, really incredible free product, like referral program, but I don't even want to talk about that, because in the last year of coaching people around health and wellness stuff, around ketones, selling a product at the price point that it exists in, they help create that compliance in a healthier lifestyle. And all of that leads to saving money in other areas. You spend a lot less money at the grocery store. Like I do videos every week or 2 weeks about food hauls, like what I'm eating for the week, and I spend 70 or 80 bucks for a week. That's different. You spend less at the grocery store. You spend less money on over-the-counter medications that are controlling all your bodily functions that now just having a healthier lifestyle is controlling on its own. You get rid of all that crap that you spend money on. You really, really do. And frankly, people no longer can put a price point on the idea of looking the way that they want, feeling the way that they want to feel, and performing at an athletic level the way that they want to perform. You can't really put a price point on that anymore. And I mean, I really can't. I would pay more than what I initially paid to have that in my life. Seriously. And then on top of that, when people go to the doctor and they get their first thumbs up that they've had in 10 years, when they get their blood work back and their biomarkers checked and if their A1C checked and everything comes back with good numbers for like the first time in forever, and their doctor gives them a pat on the back, you're doing a great job, your weight's down, things are looking up, you can get off this blood pressure medication, you can, maybe even remove some of these diabetes medications. All of these things happen, and there's anecdotal evidence that this actually can be contributed to some of the things that ketones can create in your life. All of those things are priceless. So at that point, I would pay anything to feel the way that I feel now. And I did. And I would have paid more looking back. And I find it to be an extremely reasonable cost. So just don't balk at the price of it. So it just, all of that fits really well into that, equation of feeling better, looking better, and having a more healthier, everything, outlook, mindset, all of it. So if you do have any specific questions, definitely feel free to reach out, but this was meant to be a super simple, high-level overview, and really explains what are ketones and what do they do. Related to that really quick, I want to talk about what they don't do. One of the things that you might see in the little benefits, things that people try to advertise, maybe even myself, you'll see like the term fat loss. I want to be really clear. Ketones do not burn fat. There's no such thing as fat burn. A product is not going to cause you to burn fat. There's no supplement out there that is going to, just by taking it, cause you to burn fat. It doesn't really work that way, but what it does do is create compliance around the area that is solely responsible for helping you burn fat, which is balancing that energy equation, which is helping you have more control over what you're putting in your mouth and the quality of the food. That's what it does do. And in return, yeah, you absolutely get fat loss when you have an energy deficit. That happens, but ketones, I wanted to be clear, aren't what creates that for people. Just so you understand that. So, so far ketones, they're the greatest tool that I have found for, creating that compliance and balance in your life that's ultimately going to lead to better body composition. It just plain hands down does. I've never stuck to anything for longer than a month or two, and, coming up on about a year pretty soon, and I don't see it ever stopping. I don't see a reason to do that. And I just want to keep evangelizing and simplifying the conversation and introducing people to it. So what I would say is ask questions, get some samples in your hand. And with that in mind, like if anyone wants to literally just have a sample of this, one packet, one packet's not going to change your life. But if you want to drink one, see how you feel, if it makes an immediate impact, it may not. Taste it, see what the texture's like. Send me your address. I will mail you at my cost, like no cost to you, a sample of ketones. You can buy them at, 5 or 10 day packs, but I will send you a sample. I will hand them to you. I'll mix it up in a shaker cup for you. Just get your hands on some samples. Trust me. But I hope this was helpful. I hope it was simple. I hope it wasn't too simple that it blurred. But I just wanted to spend a minute and really simplify that conversation for you guys. Have a good night. I'm going to go enjoy some quiet time because the kids are sleeping. See ya.